Welcome back to your Cup of Tea podcast. It's your boy Josh.
And it's your girl Katie.
Let's get into the birth story.
This story is so I've actually never been more excited for a podcast because I feel like I didn't even get to explain everything in our YouTube video. I didn't get to explain everything on Instagram stories, like Snapchat. Like no one knows like every little detail.
I was gonna say, and we kept it like not a secret, but like low key for about a week. So now it's finally about time for us to talk about it, and we're super excited. So I say we just get going from the jump.
Let me just say it was quite the journey. It was kind of like started off. Well, we'll just get into it. Okay.
So I do feel like I jinxed myself because I did actually say on a previous podcast, I feel like the worst time to like go into labor would be in the middle of the night. Like you didn't get a lot of sleep and now you're about to be up all day. And that's exactly what kind of happened.
I do have to say though, it wasn't as hard as I thought. Like
it was not hard.
I think because of all the adrenaline and nerves 100%. And everything that happened, like it wasn't.
I just mean like scenario wise, like if you could pick the best timing, that wouldn't be the best timing. But so like we went to bed at probably like 11:30 midnight. Your mom just got into town, and then we woke up at 3.
Yeah. So we woke up at 3 a.m. I like felt like something weird. Like I don't know. I like felt like it was weird, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, I pushed you, and I was like, I think my water broke.
I was like, no way.
And he was like, no way. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, let me check. So I go and I turn the lights on, and like, not to be TMI, but there was like blood in the bed. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh no, like this isn't good. So everything like on our like little pamphlet of like when to go to the hospital basically said like if there's blood, like that's not good, like call right away. And so like I ran over and I like asked my mom, I was like, is this normal? And she's like, it can be normal. Like it doesn't always mean it's
there
bad.
Can be a little bit of
like,
blood.
There can be
like,
a little bit, but
when your water breaks, but like this was not.
This was not.
It was
that.
like straight.
It was just straight. And so like we were kind of like, wait a minute, this is not good. So I call the hospital, and then they're like, well, can you feel your baby moving? And I was like feeling around, and like sometimes I couldn't feel her move. Like she would like move a lot. Yeah. And then sometimes like I just couldn't feel her move. So I was like trying to feel her move, and I couldn't feel anything. So I was like panicked.
Meanwhile, your boys I'm already ready. I'm like, all right, we're going to hospital 100%. I brushed my teeth, and then I just grabbed everything, started loading in the car.
Yeah, Josh started loading up everything in the car. Part of me was like excited and also panicked. Like I was like, I hope everything's okay. Like I just pray like nothing bad happened. Like,
I personally was super nervous because I knew like obviously you always hear like blood's not a good sign, and then to me like it wasn't like, oh, your water just broke. It was like, okay, this is not good.
Yeah,
and
it felt like very like I don't know. I was
scared.
I was very scared, but
I try to keep it cool, stay like positive.
Yeah. So anyway, we hop in the car, we're going, and I'm like freaking out. I actually just watched back a clip, and I didn't even know we were doing this, but I do remember praying in the car a lot. So we were blasting worship music, and I have it on video, and you were going like almost 90 miles per hour.
I was zooming to the hospital.
He was zooming to the hospital. We were literally just praying, listening to worship music. I was so stressed. Like every like bad scenario was going through my head, and like I was trying to like not let that happen, but I was like very, very panicky. Anyway, we get in. They wheel me back. Well, Josh drops me off. He goes parks. They wheel me back, and then he comes back, and they were just kind of like, oh, like, have you felt her move? I'm like, no. And they're asking me all these questions, and then they're like, this much blood like isn't good. And so anyway, as soon as I sat down and they started working on me, they put a baby or a monitor on my stomach, and I could hear her heartbeat. So like instantly, I felt like a big like relief. Like I was like.
Really
oh,
okay.
I was like, okay, thank God.
And she had a good heartbeat too. So
and something I didn't know in that moment was what did happen to me. A lot of times will happen to people, and they'll get their full term at 40 weeks, and there'll be no heartbeat on the baby. And like that to me was like my biggest fear. And it's not something I like wanted to believe that was a possibility, but like now looking back, it definitely was a possibility. Because it does happen to people. And so like once I heard the heartbeat, I just felt like this like instant, like, I don't know, like, okay, like it's gonna be okay.
It was a big sign of relief, but they did right before that. They did check you to see if your water was broken, and it wasn't. Mm-hmm. So that was also like kind of scary because it's like, all right, now we're for sure like no, like that wasn't the water breaking. Yeah, it wasn't from that. So like something like. And then for whatever reason, you're bleeding. We didn't know why yet.
Yeah. And so then they did an ultrasound on me, and the tech was like looking at it. She wasn't really saying what happened because they had to wait for the doctor to say, but like, I was like, what's wrong? Is everything okay? And they're like, we can't really say, we have to wait for the doctor. And they're like, but there is a reason for your bleeding.
And typically from my experience, when they're doing that, if nothing's wrong,
They
they'll
can
like
normally
tell
stay.
you. They'll like they might be like, oh, wait for the doctor, but everything looks good. Like this was just oh, let's wait for the doctor.
Like it was very obvious something was like kind of like not good. And so then they were like putting all these IVs in me, and then they put another one. They're like, this is in case you had to go for an emergency C-section. And then they kind of were saying that if I did go in a C-section that I would be completely knocked out, which I really didn't want, because I was like, okay, then I'm going to miss like this entire, like, I don't know, just, I was like, wait, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. Like I've had such a good pregnancy, like my entire time. Like I was just like very like, I don't know. It kind of like sucked in that moment. I was like, at least she's good. Everything seems to be good, but it wasn't like 100% like, oh, don't worry, you're not good. You could see like, I felt like the nurses, they did good, but there was still like cause for concern. And so then the doctor comes back. Right? Or did you, oh, no.
No, I was before that.
Yeah. So,
all right, let me
explain it.
So your boy did almost pass out. Now, never in my life did I ever think I would pass out from something like that. And I've never passed out in my life, actually. But for me, in my head, so I don't know, maybe this is just me that does this, but like during the pregnancy, at certain points, like sometimes you think, like, I'm a very positive guy, but it's like, okay, like, what if this happened? Yeah. Or like, what if something happened? Like those thoughts like kind of cross your mind, like here and there. And then you kind of like try to like wash them away. You're like, oh, like positive thoughts. Like that would never happen. It wouldn't happen to me.
It wouldn't happen to me. It wouldn't happen to me.
So like I've had those thoughts. And then like now it came to the day and I was like, oh my God, like I've like literally like this is happening right now. Like, I can't believe this is happening.
That
so I'm
literally
like,
was me.
What if something happens to Katie B? Or even the baby? I'm like, either way would be terrible. And like, I'm just sitting there, like thinking, I'm standing, like I'm thinking that to myself over and over. I'm like, really hope nothing's wrong. But like, what if like, and you start to think of like the worst case scenarios. And like, then it just hit me. And I don't know why I started to pass out.
So I don't know what happened. He said, he was like, I hate to be that guy, but I think I'm going to pass out. I look over, he's like completely white. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I was like, oh my God.
And she wasn't bleeding. Like this wasn't during like the birth of our child.
It's not like anything was like.
None of that at this point in time. Like
it was
she was
simply stress and like adrenaline and like fear. I feel like just like,
no, yeah.
It was a lot. Happened. It was a lot. So he like almost passed out. The nurses then are like all around him. They got him a juice box. They like sat you down. They were like really worried about you. They put smelling salts.
Put smelling salts in my
and they did nothing. It wasn't even. He's like
still going out.
He was still like going through it. They finally got him down. He kind of like snapped back and was better.
I will say officially your boy did not pass out, but they did tell me, they're like, if you would have passed out, we would have had to admit you to the hospital, and then I would have like not been there for you. It would have made a whole nother extra like ordeal going on. So I'm glad I didn't pass out. But I will say, like, for me, when like the two people you care about most, you know, one being the baby and the other being Katie B, like there could be something wrong. Like you start to panic, and I started to panic, which was scary. We interrupt your podcast from a quick sponsor from First Form. And I just want to say shout out to First Form for keeping me energized in the labor and delivery room, because your boy was operating on it next to none sleep that day.
He literally packed 3 energy drinks.
And they're keeping me energized during this podcast. I'm not even gonna lie.
And I gotta be honest, like I was so hungry, like I couldn't eat anything. And he had the meat sticks, and I was the protein like terrible. Meat sticks. I was so pissed because like you could smell that. Like you cracked one of those open, and then you had an energy drink from First Form, and I was like, why you gotta like take my favorite things right in front of me?
If you guys don't know, Katie B wasn't allowed to eat or drink. We'll get into that more in the podcast. But your boy was eating for 2 at the time. Because I was like, I got an extra fuel for Katie. I think I drank 3 energy drinks. Might have been a little too much, but you know, I was trying to stay energized. And then I probably had 3 meat sticks and a protein drink. All First Form products. Thank God I packed them. Katie B actually made fun of me for packing protein. I was like, it came in handy for your boy.
That is true. I did. But honestly, we love First Form products. Like we make a protein shake every single day. I'm so excited.
Special.
Now that I'm not pregnant anymore, I can have the energy drinks because they're my
and the
favorite
pre-workout
thing and the pre-workout and the amino acids. I'm so excited. I love amino acids so much. It's something like I do every single night.
So if you guys want to check out our favorite First Form products, we're gonna leave them linked down below. But seriously, love them. Sipping on an energy drink right now. So let's get back to the podcast.
He was close to passing out, but he didn't pass out like me, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah, Katie B did pass out, and that was a whole nother story.
We'll get there.
We'll
get there.
Gosh.
So anyway, Joshua B almost passes out. Whole thing happens. They're like, okay, you're admitted. You're going to have this baby today. Like no matter what, like you're having this baby today. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's going down. And so they kind of told us that they were like, we got back to our room, we checked in, Josh went and got the bags. I was a little like, what's going on? Like, I'm excited. I think I'm having a baby. I'm also nervous because it doesn't seem like everything's like 100% okay. I just like didn't know how to feel.
Like once the doctor had came in, I felt pretty confident that things were going to be okay. But we didn't know how the birth was going to go. Like, was it going to be emergency C-section or like, were you going to be able to have a vaginal birth? So that's where, to me, I was like super nervous. But at that point, I had felt confident that everything was okay. So like, I was coming back too. Like, I felt confident going into it the rest of the day. I just didn't know when we were gonna have our baby. I was like, I kept asking, I was like, is it today? And they're like, oh yeah, you'll probably have the baby before like noon. And I was like, awesome. It was like 7 in the morning at that time. I was like, let's go.
And so we get admitted into the room, and mind you, I haven't ate since like the night before, which isn't that bad because it was still around 7. And
like
then
12 hours.
By the time like we waited, they did like they were just like put IVs and stuff in me. And then Josh ended up getting Chick-fil-A for breakfast, and I was so jealous because I was starving. That was about 9.
Well, Katie wasn't allowed to eat or drink anything because they thought there was the potential of having a C-section, and if it was emergency before she got her epidural, they would have to put her under.
I couldn't eat or drink
and you're not supposed to eat or drink if you go on anesthesia. So that was why she wasn't allowed to do that, because I feel like typically you'd be able to eat or drink.
I think until you get your epidural you can't, or something 100%. Like that. But anyway, I was allowed to have a few ice chips after a couple hours.
Yeah, I was feeding her ice chips and stuffing Chick-fil-A down my throat.
But he was really sweet. He's like, I feel bad like eating Chick-fil-A. I'm like, no, why would you? I was like, honestly, get it. I was like, if I were you, like, I was like, why should you not be able to eat because I can't? Like, I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I already knew this going in.
Well, plus in my head, I was like, I don't know why I almost passed out, but I do not want this to happen during the birth of our child. So I was like, I'm going to eat, drink like multiple times today to make sure I'm good to go.
Yeah, he was like having his energy drinks. He had Chick-fil-A. And then honestly, the main thing at the hospital was it was just kind of a waiting game. So we were waiting to see like what was going to happen next. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to see if my body would naturally go into labor, because I was only like, I think a centimeter dilated when I got there, but I was having small contractions. So basically what the diagnosis of what happened when we got there was I had a small abruption in the placenta. So basically a small part of the placenta detached from the uterus, causing an abruption and causing blood. And so the problem is that the baby sometimes can't handle that blood. And sometimes they can, depending on how much there is. So in our situation, we were very fortunate that the baby was able to handle it.
She's already a fighter. I just got to throw that out there.
Yeah. And so she was able to handle it, but they were just monitoring her and making sure that her heart rate didn't drop, because that's where then they'd have to rush me into a C-section.
Yeah, so we basically had a nurse. Like, we had a heart rate thing on
That's
Katie's
normal,
belly,
though. That's normal.
A nurse 24/7, really?
Not a nurse 24/7, but like having the monitor and like a nurse watch it. Like, I'm pretty sure that's kind of normal. I don't know how closely they watch it, but they were closely watching mine because it's like it couldn't drop. So as the day went on, the heart rate was like looking good. Everything was doing good. I wasn't really starting to have intense contractions though. Like, my body really wasn't going into labor quick enough. So they ended up starting a small drip of Pitocin, and they started me really slow. So Pitocin basically makes you, your contractions get harder, which makes you go into labor. And so basically they started that. They wanted to make sure they did it slow. That way that baby girl was okay with it, because sometimes it can stress out the babies when the contractions get really strong and their heart rate can drop, and they didn't want it to drop. So they started that. The contractions started getting worse. Everything was good.
How did those contractions feel like?
In the beginning, it was fine. It was
because I've never seen Katie be in this kind of pain before. I'm going to be honest. And I don't know why. Like, well, I do know why. Because you're a savage. You're very tough. You do, like, you take pain very well. So, like, for me, I don't know why. I was like, oh, everyone says contractions are so bad. Like, I just feel like Katie's going to just.
No, I knew.
It'll be light work.
I knew it was going to be bad.
Not quite.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't light work.
Even the toughest people, like,
no, 100%.
They say, no one says that contractions didn't hurt unless.
I want to know what
unless
it feels
they get the epidural early.
I want to know what it feels like. No, the epidural, I'm saying without the epidural, like, obviously it's not the same.
So basically, I don't know if this is true or not, but they were like, I'm pretty sure that Pitocin makes contractions a little bit like more aggressive, because it like shakes your uterus rather than like naturally contracting. So anyway, I was on Pitocin. The contractions were fine. And then they started to get really bad. Then they started to get really fast, like really fast. Like it was like I would have a contraction. And then in between my break of the contraction was probably the worst period cramp of my life. That's what the break felt like. And then another contraction. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not getting a break. So I basically fought through terrible contractions. I'd say probably about like 2 hours because we were like waiting for like different people to come back. And I was just watching that clock. I was like, the nurse said she'd come back in this much time. I was like, okay, she'll be back. And then, and I didn't want to get the epidural too soon, but then they also were like, the sooner you get the epidural, it's better because then you can be awake if we have to go in for emergency.
I was going to say, it almost seemed like that was a better route to go. A, because you wouldn't be in pain, and B, because then like if her heart rate started dropping, like you wouldn't have to be put under during an emergency C-section because they would just up the epidural like pain medicine.
We don't really know how dilated I was when I got the epidural because the last time they checked me, I was only at a centimeter. But then I was having crazy contractions like back to back to back. And I got the epidural. And that honestly, the needle of the epidural felt good compared to the contraction. Like it felt so good. Like it was a different pain.
I'm mad.
That's what's weird. The epidural does not hurt at all. Like I literally could do like that did not hurt. And they put like a little like numbing thing.
I wouldn't even know because I don't know if it was because I almost passed out, but like they didn't not let me watch, but they made me sit on like the other side. I wanted to watch like whatever they put in your back. I wanted to see it.
I don't know what it's called, but it's like this long string, they send
like almost like a cable in
there. They send like this like little cable, and they showed me after like this was all in your back.
It looked intense. But like I don't know, you didn't look like you were in pain at all.
The worst part is they lean you over, which is it's a comfortable position, but you're leaned over hugging a pillow and you're breathing through the contractions and you can't move because like you could get paralyzed from an epidural. Also, this is just really random. We got to talk about a C-section real quick. They don't actually put your organs to the side, but everyone always says that. I believed that. They don't really do that. A lot of nurses were like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, but they did say something about having to move something sometimes.
Yeah,
so now I'm like, well, what are we moving? You know?
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, what was I saying?
Epidural.
Oh, epidural. So the epidural, the guy came in, he did it really quick. It was good. It still wasn't kicking in right away. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, how fast is this? Like when's it going to kick in? Once it kicked in, I was so happy. I was like, this is amazing.
She was like on a high. She said probably 100 times like how amazing the epidural was.
I was like, wow, I love the epidural. This is the best. And it's not like I actually was like on like, it doesn't make you
no, she was just, I think she was just feeling good.
I was in so much pain. To feel relief was like the biggest blessing in the world. Thank you for modern medicine. I love the epidural. I don't know how people could do that.
Mad respect for natural births because that looks
I don't know.
painful.
I really feel like I can handle some pain, but
even birth, even the way you did it still looks painful.
Because what happens in my birth story, I think I would have passed out from pain if I didn't have that epidural, and I'll get there when I get there. But anyway, so I get the epidural. Everything's fine. I'm in the room, and then we hear like baby girl's heart rate start to drop a little.
All right, you guys, we're interrupt your podcast for a quick sponsor from Blueland,
which I just have to say is like my favorite thing.
It's Katie B's new go-to.
It's our entire house. Like it's everywhere in our house.
Did you guys know we're eating and drinking roughly a credit card's worth of plastic a week? Yep, that's right. The products that we're using every day are ultimately contaminating our water supply, generating hundreds of microplastics that we end up indigesting. So Blueland set out to do something about it. Eliminate the need of single-use plastic in the products we reach for the most.
So for me personally, the reason I made the switch to Blueland and I literally took and threw away all of our old cleaning products and I swatched it out. And because I'm like, I want like cleaner products and like just especially since we have a baby now, like I feel like I want to be a little more cautious of that.
Yeah, Katie B went full nesting mode before baby girl came, which I appreciate. And the bottles look pretty aesthetic.
And the way it works, I love so much because you basically buy the bottles and then after you have the bottles, you just buy the little tablets that you drop in and you fill water in and it dissolves and it makes it so much easier. So like every time now when I have to go buy cleaning supplies, I just get it shipped to my door and it's not even shipping full cleaning supplies. It's just the tablets. So it's not like I have to go to the grocery store and carry all these like big, heavy, like cleaning supplies.
100%. So and you're not wasting bottles either.
Yeah. So it's like, you're not wasting bottles. It's so convenient. And honestly, me and my mom were actually just talking about this. She was like, where did you get that hand soap? Like I am obsessed with, like, it makes my hands feel so much cleaner than other hand soaps. So I was like, I don't know. It's cool to hear other people love it too.
So from cleaning sprays to hand soap, toilet bowl cleaner, and laundry tablets, all Blueland products are made with clean ingredients you can feel good about. As you can see, we feel good about them.
So, since if you guys want to check out Blueland, like how I did, you guys they actually have a special offer for you guys. So you guys will get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/yourcoupletea. You don't want to miss this. It's blueland.com/yourcoupletea for 15% off. We hear like baby girl's heart rate start to drop a little. And then the nurses were like, I don't know what they said, but they're like, okay, wait, we got to move her. We got to flip her.
Well, I don't know if you could see it on the screen, but you could hear it because the heart rate thing was up. But I was watching the screen, so I knew what like the heart rate was most of the time, and I could see it dropping like pretty quick.
Yeah.
And getting low.
And so quickly, we had like one nurse in there or two nurses in there. Then there was like 4 or 5 nurses in there quick.
And they keep their cool so
they
well.
Do so
but like
good.
No matter what, you can tell when like
we're trying to do things fast.
Things are getting heightened and like a little more nerve-wracking, and people are getting more concerned.
And we
like
had
when a couple more nurses come in and then they're moving just a little bit faster, and now they're moving really fast.
And I just have to say, we got so blessed, and this is actually something I feel like I prayed about so much, was to have good nurses and a good like OB in there, just because that was really important to me. And we had the nicest nurses. Like I swear, like from the one that wheeled us in to the next one, and then the next one, Brittany, she was so sweet.
Yeah,
like,
from the beginning, we
lucky.
had the best nurses and best doctors. Like the overall experience from nurses and doctors was amazing.
And 2 of them were subscribers, which I thought was really cool. They're like, I watch you guys.
And they were so nice.
It was so sweet. It was just like such a cool moment, because they were like, yeah, like I knew, like they were like, I was hoping you guys would come here. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like what a cool experience. Cause it's like, they know our story. And I just felt like it was really fun to get to like hang out with the nurses. Like, I don't 100%. Know. It was fun. So anyway, heart rate drops. They all start rushing in. They're like trying to flip me on my hands.
They got you on
knees,
all fours.
Which
they got
my
you on the side.
my legs aren't working at this point because I had the epidural. So that was hard. It was so awkward to like hold myself up because my legs felt so weird. They flipped me on the side. Nothing really was changing. And they were trying to get ready to go back for a C-section. And luckily, I literally was in like a little panic because my mind's like, oh my God, like, wait, what's going on? Like, is this going to happen? Like, is this going to go down like this? And the whole time I'm like, dear God, please don't let this happen. Like, please let everything be okay. Like, I don't know what, like whenever I get in a panic, I just start like praying, like fire praying. Like, I'm like, dear God, please don't let anything happen to me. Please don't let anything
Especially in that situation. I was like, what else can you do? I mean, you're kind of
helpless in that situation. For real. You just got to trust whatever's going to happen.
And that is the worst. Feeling helpless is the worst feeling ever. Like I'm just standing there like, all right, like what do I can't do anything, so.
But then luckily the heart rate gets back up, and then they're all like monitoring and stuff. So it's looking good. But then after that, they checked me to see how dilated I was, and I was 6 centimeters dilated. So I think what had happened was the Pitocin. Once I got on that, I started contracting so fast, and I dilated so quick, and that's why I think those contractions were like insane, because they like went so fast. And so anyway, they're like, oh my gosh, you're like at a 6. I'm like, okay, let's go. Like we're getting closer and closer, because I like you have to get to a 10 before you can start pushing. Yep. So they actually then, when that whole thing happened and baby girl was like stressed, they gave me a shot in my arm to stop my contractions, to like stop the process, because they didn't want her heart rate to keep dropping.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was to like slow down the contractions.
I did not know
Stop it. So then they kind of took a break, and then we honestly waited. That was at like maybe like noonish, I think.
I think that was a little later. I think that was more like
1 or 2,
3.
Okay,
yeah,
maybe
because
2 or 3.
Remember, because they switched doctors at noon, but we had still not met the new doctor.
Maybe it was like 1 or 2.
It was later, but I mean, we still didn't have the baby till 7 hours after that.
Yeah, so whatever, it was like 1 or 2 or 3, kind of in the afternoon, and then they stopped it, and then we were just kind of waiting for her heart rate, and then they said that they were going to come in and break my water, because that basically what happens when your water breaks is your body has natural Pitocin, which makes you go into labor. So that happened,
which was still going to be a scare, because that could make the contractions start going again, and then her heart rate could drop off. So that was also scary.
So we were just waiting for the doctor to break my water, but the doctor ended up being pretty busy, because she had a ton of like emergency C-sections.
Emergency C-section.
She had a couple
other
planned.
Emergency event.
And honestly, like the nurses were coming like, oh, sorry, like she's in an emergency C-section. They would like explain like kind of what C-section it was.
Thank God we're not high up on the priority list. Like I feel like
they're like, you're not really high up on the.
You don't want to be high up on the priority list.
No, and I was like, no. I was like, they need her more than me, and like some of the stories, it just makes you really realize like what a lot of people do have to go through. And like, sometimes it's not all the picture perfect, like, you know, labor and delivery story. And honestly, even for our story, it was like very stressful and a lot, but it's like, it was still a beautiful story. It's not like there's just like so many things that people go through. That
From what I hear, it seems like, most people go through something, you know?
Yeah. So, but then some people obviously like they go through things that like one of them was she had a planned C-section, but she had twins and both the babies were not alive. So it's like she was going in, I don't know if it was like 20, 30 weeks, whatever it was. It was definitely like far enough in the pregnancy. Like it was in her pregnancy. And I was like, that's just awful. Like she had it planned knowing. And I was like, you know what, that doctor, I was like, take your time. I was like, be with that patient and like, honestly, just count your blessings for like where we were at. Because a little bit of us, I was like, why does this have to happen? Like, why couldn't it be like this? And I was like, you know what? We are still so blessed and like just in a good situation. Yeah. So anyway, we waited for the doctor probably for like 5-6 hours, 7.
A while. Yeah.
A while, which was fine. Because we were just kind of like hanging around, like, when's it gonna? We just didn't know when we were gonna go into labor, what was gonna happen. It was a lot. Like,
we having a September 5th baby or a September 6th baby? What's it gonna be? But honestly, like either way, I didn't care.
But it was fun.
Kind of excited. I was like, I want to meet her. I've been waiting for so long.
Yeah, we were just like hanging with our nurses, talking to them a lot. Like, I just feel like it was really like
the nurses made it way better.
They made
were
it
all
so
like,
much
super
better,
cool and like fun to talk to and interesting, you know?
So we were just waiting and then out of nowhere, so then they come in, they break my water and I can't really remember what else happened. That's it. They just came in, broke my water and they're like, okay, well, like we'll see like what happens. We're just going to monitor and keep waiting.
Then a couple more hours went by and I remember you saying, all right, well, do we tell the scenario where I ditched you for a little while? And
oh my gosh. So while we're waiting,
guys out there,
while I'm waiting to go into labor, Josh is like, he said something to me, but I was doing something on my phone and I'm so bad at listening while you like tell me things. And
so this is a you problem then.
No. So he said he was going to,
I was going to find a vending machine because I was going to just get a drink. No, I wasn't. The plan was not to go to Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know they had a Starbucks at this point. That's what got me. The basic bitch in me. It got me.
So I'm like, sitting up in that epidural and the nurse is like, I'll come back in like 10 minutes. And it
was more like 20. She's like, I'll come back in 20
minutes.
minutes and change you. They were changing her position a lot. Hello?
Oh, Siri just was listening to us and she was like doing something. Anyway, so yeah, she's like, I'll come back and flip you. And so like, yeah, like 10 to 20 minutes, maybe 30, but that's not really that important. It's not like it had to be a time thing. And so I was starting to get really uncomfortable. I was like, sit up. My legs felt so weird because I had the epidural. Again. And then I started to feel like I was going to pass out. I don't know what happened. I was like, I don't feel good.
And originally I left to the vending machine. It was going to take like 3 to 4 minutes, but then they didn't accept credit card. Then I heard there was a Starbucks, like literally like a 2-minute walk down not down the street, down like the hospital. And I was like, bet Starbucks.
So like, I'm starting to get super uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, where'd he go? And then I was like, wait a minute, he told me where he went. Where did he go? And then I was like thinking, I'm like, he had to have gone I was like, where did he? And I was like, oh, he said he like went to go get something to eat or like a snack or something. I was like, okay, that's right. And then like I'm sitting for another 5 minutes and I'm like, ow.
It probably felt like forever to you because I was in pain by yourself.
No, and I was in pain. And then I'm like trying to distract myself. I go on like TikTok or something. I'm like, no, I am so uncomfortable. So I call him. My lap starts ringing. I'm like, wait, why is my lap?
I left my phone on the charger so it could be charged.
No, you left it on my lap. You put it on my lap. I was like, how did this get here? And I literally see your phone on my lap and I'm like, he left his phone? What if I just started going to labor?
Did you answer your phone? Like
no, I almost sent you a message saying I was so mad at you. That way, when you got back, you could see again how mad I was. I was so upset because I was like, why did he not bring his phone? He always brings his phone.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. I do always bring my phone. But I was in the Starbucks line and I ordered. And after I ordered, there was no line when I ordered, but there's people standing around and there's only like one person working. So I was like, oh, there's no line. Like this will be quick. And unfortunately, it wasn't that fast. And I was standing there and I'm like, I don't have my phone. What are the odds that like Katie B just pushes out this baby in this next 10 minutes while I'm gone? Like there's just no way. All right, you guys, we interrupt your podcast for a quick sponsor from Stitch Fix.
So Stitch Fix totally gets me. And like your boy. Yes, your girl does have a personal stylist.
Well, I mean, look at her. Come on.
Okay, not right now. Your girl just gave birth.
She just gave birth.
But honestly, what's so nice about them is they know my size. They know what fits me. They know what doesn't fit me. They know my style. Like, And so it's so easy for them to pick out clothes like on my budget. And it takes away the headache for me because sometimes like your girl be going over budget. And then sometimes I buy clothes, I'm like, it doesn't fit me. So it's just so much easier to have like a stylist do it.
Yeah, Stitch Fix is the best way to shop new styles and brands and to stay on trend. You know what I'm saying? Think of them as your style partner. Your stylist will learn about your taste and collaborate with you only on looks you'll love without breaking the bank.
Yeah, and they also have over 1,000 brands and styles. So no matter what season of life that you're in, Stitch Fix has you guys covered.
How it works is you simply share your style, size, and budget with a quick style quiz, and Stitch Fix sends you 5 items in a fix right to your door.
So a big thank you to Stitch Fix because they just get me and they make my life so much easier. And as being a new mom, it's going to be so nice. I need to find ways to like make my life
Gotta
easier.
simplify your life.
So if you guys want to simplify your life and you want to try Stitch Fix, you guys can actually go to stitchfix.com/yourcoupletea and you'll get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/yourcoupletea.
But in my head, I was like, this would be like some crazy scene from the movies where they page me like over the hospital speaker, like Josh Bruckner.
What are you, James Bond?
Your wife's going into labor. Like, come
I don't even think they do
like,
that.
I'm sprinting through the hallways and I bust in the door and like catch the baby.
Josh is having like movie scene scenarios.
I swear to God, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, there's no way they're not gonna like page me if God forbid you went into labor like in this next 10 minutes, which like it wasn't to that point yet. It wasn't like no, you're super dilated, you're gonna go into labor. But after the fact, once I came back, got Starbucks,
I was like, Josh,
Katie was mad at me.
I wasn't like actually like mad. I was like, dude, you left me. I was like, you need to bring your phone. I was like, and the problem is I would have called the nurse, but I couldn't reach. The bed was broken with the little hand thing to call the nurse. Called
the hand thing had slipped through the ground. So
back, I'm like, I think I could get it. And I have so many cords wrapped up to me. I'm like trying to reach it. And then I'm
IV's stuck.
When I tell you how helpless I felt, I was like, hello? I was almost at the point where I was going to be like, nurse. Like it starts. I was so uncomfortable. And then anyway, Josh gets back.
Yeah, that was a fail on my part. Yeah, I could.
Then we're just sitting, hanging out with the nurse. The nurse goes back, and then she kind of was saying like, "Oh yeah, like once you like are 10 centimeters, like she's like you'll have the urge, like you have to when you're pushing, you'll just feel like you have to poop, like you'll have the urge." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Whatever." I was like, "I'm curious what that'll feel like." Then like literally a couple minutes later, she walks out. I get like this terrible contraction. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Josh, I think I can feel the baby. I think the baby's coming out."
Yeah, she's like, I feel like the baby's about to come out. I was like, you do? Like, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, no, you said it. I was like, no, Josh, I'm telling you.
In my head, I was like,
I feel
yeah,
like,
right.
I was like, the baby's head is there. I was like, I can feel it.
It's like, there's no way. She's like, call the nurse.
I was like, call the nurse now.
Are you sure? So I dialed the nurse. I'm like, hey, Katie thinks the baby's coming. She comes in, she does her little check. She's like, oh my God,
time.
It's happening.
It's
I was
time.
like, oh shit, let's go.
So then it was actually really cool because it was just you and me and the and our nurse, and she was like Josh didn't realize like how involved he was gonna be, and he like loved it. Like he was like, she's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to hold her leg. He's like, bet, let's go. Like he was like really excited.
Yeah, I honestly didn't really do my research. I've seen like one birth vlog or video, and I feel like the guy kind of was just standing like right with his wife, like not even really like, holding the legs or anything. Like, it just depends.
If you didn't want to, they could have like they would have called in more nurses.
But I feel like he was like almost more like in his wife's like face, like, oh, you're doing so great. That me, on the other hand, I didn't know I was gonna be involved. Like she's like, all right, you're gonna like hold the leg and do this.
Josh is like, this is cool. He's like,
sick.
Okay, like this is a vibe. And I feel like probably just because like our nurse knew that like you were so interested in like invested, like I don't know, you weren't like. I don't know. Like,
no, I was all about it. And it's not like I really did anything. I just kind of like held your leg while you pushed the baby out.
You didn't really do it. Yeah, you were just holding my leg. But it was like cool because he had to be involved. And so anyway, we start pushing, but it's just me and the one nurse and Josh. And I felt like that was like really fun. Like, cause I'm glad there wasn't like too many people in that, like for the whole thing. And it was really good. She like coached me through everything. Like shout out, literally had the best nurse.
They're so good at like
they're so good
keeping you motivated and like
and calm.
Yeah.
And it was so cool because like I was pushing for a little bit and she's like, oh my gosh, she has so much hair, and that got me so excited. I was like, oh my God, we're literally about to meet her. I'm like, what the heck?
I personally was like,
I was
no
shocked.
way. And she's like, yeah, look. And then I look and she's like, oh, wait till she starts pushing again. So like next time Katie B started pushing, all of a sudden you just see like all this black hair, and I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, oh my gosh.
She's got hair.
And I just watched back a
so
video.
much hair.
You said that you thought she was going to be bald, and I said she was going to have hair. But I didn't think she was going to have that much hair. Like, I thought maybe just like a little bit.
She had a lot of hair.
Yeah, which I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Like, I was just so excited. Like, literally, like the fact that you guys were all freaking out. I was like, oh my God, like we're gonna get to meet her soon. So then it was just like more motivating to keep pushing.
And thank God that the nurse, and I'm sure all nurses and doctors are really good at doing this, but like was so helpful with like the breathing and like when to push and stuff, because I feel like,
and their voices
as
were
a
all, like,
husband,
really calm and
that's just what I was
sweet
gonna
and
say.
like gentle. Like they were very like, you got this, like you're doing good. Like I just watched back the YouTube video, and I'm like, our nurses and their OB was so sweet and motivating.
As a husband, I feel like if I'm like, push babe, you got, like, it's almost more.
If you were hyping me up too much, but I think I might start to get annoyed. Like,
I just think of it as, for this scenario for me, and like, I don't want this to sound mean, I love when you like are trying to push me in a workout, and like it works, but like when I think like when my guy trainer, like my trainer, it doesn't have to be a guy, just my trainer's a guy, he's like yelling at me to do something, versus like when my wife is like, when I'm lifting weight, it just like comes off differently.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't
your
know
job
why.
is not to, yours is like to be more supportive.
Yeah, I want to be
like
there for
loving
you,
and like then they're like trying to coach me, you know, they're the
100%. Well, they're
and
the
they were really good.
professionals. That's why. And I'm like, I'm just there to, I'll hold your hand.
So anyway, they're like hyping me up the whole time about like doing really good and just being like super positive. And then our OB comes in and she's like, how's she doing? Let's take a look. And then the other nurse like, she's doing awesome. And then she looked and she's like, yeah, I honestly didn't doubt that you would like push her out really fast, which I didn't even push her out yet. They're like, honestly, I didn't doubt that you would like kill it. Is what she said. She's like, normally when you're like super fit, like it's really easy. She's like, I just had a feeling like you would do this like really good.
Easy is not the right word, but fast.
Not easy. Faster. Yeah, fast. Like, well, faster is easier because it's less time. But
I'm gonna be honest, like when you were like, since you had the epidural and everything, like when you were pushing out the baby, like did it hurt?
No, it didn't hurt at all.
Because you made it, like I literally said it, and if you go back and watch the labor video, like I literally said, like after I was like, you made that look easy. Like it looked like you were pushing hard.
No,
but it didn't seem like, I imagine some movie scene like.
Want to know what pushing felt like?
And
go like that and hold your breath and just let pressure go to your face. Like that's literally, that's all it felt like, because I had the epidural. So I don't want to like downplay. I had an epidural. Like I didn't feel a thing down there, and it was amazing. It actually made the whole experience so fun. Like the beginning part sucked, like with the contractions, like that is a pain that I'm like, I don't ever want to feel that pain. Like I will always make sure I try and get to the hospital early enough so I can get that epidural, because that literally saved my life. And
I think you go natural next time.
Oh yeah, I think you should.
Just kidding. Honestly, I'd rather you not be in pain.
No,
because like when you were in pain during the contractions before you had that, I was like,
what do I say?
What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? Like, oh, just breathe. Like,
it is funny though, because normally
I don't even understand what you're going through.
Normally when I'm in pain or like it hurt, like I don't want anything. I don't want anyone touching me. I don't want any of that. But like for some reason when I was having contractions, I was like, I need love. I need attention. I'm like, just kiss me on my forehead or something. Like I was like, felt like more affectionate for some reason. I bet those might have been more of the early on contractions. The other ones I'm like, I'm just trying to like breathe. But anyway, we're like pushing, the OB comes in, and then quickly her head came out. And we watched the YouTube video back. This is the weirdest thing ever. And does this happen? So I was watching it. I was pushing.
Oh my God. Is that a thing?
You hear a cry and then it stops and her head wasn't out yet.
Like, cause I mean, speaking from experience, because I was watching.
Yeah.
When like you would push, like the 10-second pushes,
she would
like the head would start to creep out.
Dude, I wish I could have watched this. I'm like jealous.
Oh my gosh. And then like you'd push again and like start to come out and come back in. I didn't notice what happened when we watched the video back. That's a whole nother story. The head must have come out a little bit. You hear a cry and then it goes away.
And then I had a couple more pushes until the head was completely out.
Yeah, that was like a little before like she actually came out, and I was like, whoa.
So then once the head was out, I think there was like one or two more
once
pushes.
the head came out, she was like, oh, do you want us to grab a mirror so you can see? And then literally she's like, all right, just give us another push. And you just see the baby like shoot out. Like, oh my god.
So we had our iPhone set up, and you can't really see like anything. You can just kind of see like there's a
Yeah,
head
because like
there.
the light shining
light,
on
like,
it was
blocked it.
so bright, but
It
like
kind of like worked because it was kind of like a blur sensor.
we
Like
didn't
you can
post
kind
that,
of,
but
yeah,
you
but
can definitely see, but you can't see.
you can't really see too much, but you can see like a head, and then you just see the body fly out. Like literally she shot, and they're like, oh my God, she shot right
Yeah, I
out.
give props to the doctors like catching the baby. I'm like, because they're slippery like that.
She's
looks
not
hard.
just a like surgeon OB. She's a
No.
freaking baseball catcher.
I was like, wow.
Anyway, she gets the baby and they're like, good job. They're like hyping me up and stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. Like I just pushed out a baby. Like that was crazy.
Yeah.
And then they're like getting her ready.
You instantly started crying.
Once I started
cute.
hearing her cry, I think I
cute.
cried because I was like, all like my stress and worries and like everything just felt like a weight lift off my chest because I don't know, my mind will go to some places sometimes of like things that could happen or things that could go wrong. I think that happens to everyone sometimes, and like you always try and stay positive, but then you're like, well, what if this happened? Like how would I get through, or like what if this happened? And so I was just like a little worried but also excited for like the whole,
because actually when she was almost like Katie had been pushing for
that's
like 10
another
minutes, the heart rate, and again, like I was watching the heart rate the whole time, started to drop again. All right, you guys, we interrupt your podcast for a quick sponsor from Liquid IV. Now, did you guys know it's not just for people training for marathons or working out all the time? Mm-hmm. You could use Liquid IV just to stay hydrated at your kids' soccer games, at school.
Just, everyone needs to stay hydrated.
Actually,
I feel like
Katie's mom
I know.
had to take one the other day because she went golfing
and it was so hot.
It's so hot out here. She's like, I need like an extra boost. I need to feel extra hydrated.
And honestly, I love Liquid IV so much. Like we have so much in our pantry and we go through it pretty fast just because, actually I was just telling my uncle today, I was like, you need to start taking Liquid IV. I'm like an advocate for it. I'm like, you need to get it. You need to get it. And the reason I love it so much is one, it tastes so good and it's good for you. So it's like you're doing, you know, something that tastes good and it's good for you. Like how 100%. Could you not? Like my personal favorite is the strawberry lemonade one. I feel like that one's really good.
Your boy likes the lemon lime personally, but
and 1 stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. And it also contains essential vitamins like B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C. So
hey, Katie and I have been from the jump telling you guys to drink your water, but now we're saying drink your water and put a Liquid IV in it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you have to drink water and then you also have to have an extra boost with the Liquid IV.
Why not?
So real people, real flavors, real hydrating. Grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you guys can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use your code COUPLET at checkout. That's 20% off anything when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code YourCoupleT at liquidiv.com.
Watching the heart rate the whole time started to drop again. And I was like,
so
oh
that's
my
why
gosh. You actually hear the doctor say like, oh, we like made it this far. Like stay at like
we just got to get her to like stay calm because we didn't do all this work for nothing. I didn't know what she meant in the moment. I was like a little confused. Now watching back, she meant like we were going to go back to a C-section, even though I was like almost done pushing because her heart rate was dropping really low, which would have been awful.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been so awful.
Just knowing, especially like after watching, like it was only like 5-6 pushes away, but obviously like you could never know that. And I don't know. I'm assuming you can't go along with your heart rate.
No,
you know, not breathing.
And so anyway, once I get her out, there I'm like holding on my chest, like just like crying and like super like, I don't know, it was like such a good feeling. And I was like, you're so cute. You're so
I was like
cute.
Crying, like laughing. I was like,
he's like, oh my gosh.
I don't even know how I felt, honestly. Like I was kind of in shock.
Yeah, you were definitely
like I really didn't say
you
much.
Made that look easy.
All I said was like, you made that look easy. I was like, good job, babe. And then I was like crying a little bit and I was just in shock. I was like, oh my gosh,
you're like,
is happening.
What
right
just
now.
happened? Like
I just watched a baby come out of you and
out of my
on your chest. Like that's our little baby. It's like
it was a really cool.
It all kind of hit me at once.
And then they took the baby and they they took Sky and they like went and checked her and made sure everything was good. And I was just sitting there and I was like laying back and I'm like, so did I tear? And they go, yeah. It's looking at like I'm not sure. It's looking like maybe a 3rd or 4th degree tear. And I go, so what does that mean? And they're like, so 1st degree is probably like just a little bit, and like 4th degree is probably the worst. But we're gonna check and see if it's a 3 or 4. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh no, a 3 or 4. And then they're like they're like, oh yeah, this is a good one. And then they're like stitching me up, and I'm like, oh my God. what is it? And they're like, yeah, it's definitely a 4th-degree tear. They're like, this
I
is
feel like the longer they stitched you up, like the more honest they were getting.
They were more honest.
Okay, yeah, this is really
well, no,
bad.
they weren't not honest. They were just like not
Finding
sure
out how
yet.
much
They didn't want
worse
to tell
it
me before
was.
they know. And anyway, they're like stitching me up. I'm pretty sure they stitched me up for like an hour and like 20 minutes.
To me, it felt like an hour and a half.
It was a long time.
Maybe it wasn't that
It was though,
long.
because you were learning how to swaddle, you were hanging out with baby girl, like you guys were doing
Yeah.
all the tests. It definitely was some time that she was stitching me up, and I'm like panicking, like what, like because I could kind of feel the pressure of the stitches. It didn't hurt at all. But I'm like kind of watching. I can't see like her doing it, but I can see her hands and like like, the stitching, and I can see the hook. And I'm like, oh my God, I am never gonna be able to walk again. I'm like looking down, and I'm like, Josh, this is bad. This is bad. He's like, it's gonna be okay. I'm like, no, this is not good.
I mean, yeah, it's not
Because you
good,
always, but you always hear people say, you're like, oh, I had a stitch. But then she told me, she's like, when people say, oh, I had a stitch, they didn't actually have one stitch. They had a couple stitches.
Right.
She's like, yeah, this is definitely a lot. Like this is, it's gonna, like she was kind of explaining. I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna ever recover from this?
And
So
that's why
Katie
KDB is wearing a diaper right now.
That's
but
why I'm still in a diaper. Actually, I'm almost retired.
you know what's funny is we actually watched a TikTok. Like you're probably like halfway through your pregnancy, and it was a girl like breaking down. It was like, oh, like it was all about pregnancy. She was kind of making like a joke out of it. But she was like putting on her diaper. She was putting on like her spray in that
I don't
area.
think it wasn't a joke.
Water. Maybe it wasn't a joke.
No, babe,
Like,
that wasn't a joke. She
that
was
wasn't a
saying like, this is how the best way to take. That was everything I knew. You do a lot of times. You do that no matter what, or like you can do all these things.
It just looked like a whole process, which it is.
It is.
But like you make it. What I was trying to get at is like I think it wasn't a joke, but like she made like the diaper and everything not look amazing. Like you kind of rock it.
Thanks.
I'm not gonna lie.
I got like the Freedom Mom diapers. They're
Yeah,
not
like,
even
you
really
kinda rock
diapers.
it.
It's kind of more like boxer shorts that like
Yeah.
hold like a pad in. So like it's not really diapers.
But
Anyway.
it is a lot. I mean, like
Oh yeah. When I would
we
go
can
to
get
the
into those details.
I'll get into it
later.
because honestly, I wish more people would have talked about it. I'm the type of person where I'm like, I'm an open book about things. Like, I don't think things are as weird as sometimes people make
But it
it.
seems like you're handling it very well. But
Because, like, okay, let's
track back a little bit.
Let's be honest. Like, or not be honest, but we'll be a little real and raw here. So if this grosses you out, click off. But basically, what a 4th-degree tear is, it's where you tear from your lady parts to your butthole. Your hoo-ha to your
booty
butthole.
hole and
So,
create
one.
a unihole.
So basically, they have to stitch you back up all the
Let
way
me
to
tell
normal.
you, first of all, a couple things I gotta talk about. The amount of guys that have asked me, like, did you look? And not even talking about that scenario, like just like when the baby was coming out, like, oh, did you look? Which to me, I was like, of course I look.
Why would I
Like,
not look?
First of all, I've seen all of that before.
Like, how do you think the baby
Second
was made?
of all, I'm curious what this is like. Like, how does this look? But I feel like some people get like grossed out or something by it. But like that,
Yeah, but
doesn't,
to me,
none of that grosses me out.
I don't know why
I think
it
it's a
gross
beautiful
anyone
thing.
out. I think it's such a cool thing that women can do that and your bodies are designed that. And anything, it's like if you're the father and that's like, even if it's like you're the father of that child, you should be like, this is so cool. Like life is being brought into this world through this process. Like
There
it's
was
so
no
unique.
part of me at any time doing that where I was like, this is gross.
Or like, oh, I'll never be able to
I
have like
will say-
sex with her again. Like blah, blah,
No.
blah.
I would have been shocked. So this is a question that KDB got from pretty much every girl is like, oh, did you poop during? Because I
Oh.
guess that's like everyone's
No,
biggest
even
fear.
guys ask that. Like so many guys and girls, oh, but did you poop? Like people want to know. Like, which I don't know why that's even really. I thought that too. I was like, oh, that'd be embarrassing. And then I'm like, wait, no.
The
When I'm in
amount
the
of
labor, I'm
stuff
like,
that's going on down there, like I think poop is
Other
like, the
things
least
come out,
of
like,
their worries.
poop is not a big deal. But
Unless you pooped like me, because my poops are explosive and they would have
the
to wear a
only
shield.
reason I didn't want to poop was not because I was like, oh, I'm embarrassed, like what you would think of the doctors. Like I really didn't care. Like they've seen it all. And I know that you wouldn't even think that's gross. The reason I didn't want to is because I knew people were going to ask. And then you'd be like, oh my gosh. But luckily.
I would have been, I just think in the moment, because I was like, I was watching, like I was in there. I think I would have just been very thrown off because in that moment, I know girls poop all the time when they're giving
Yeah.
birth. In that moment, I had kind of forgot about that. And if
Yes.
I just saw like a turd coming out, I
You're
would have
like,
been like,
oh my
whoa.
God. Whoa. It'd be like,
Hold
oh,
on.
okay. You'd be like, is that normal? But
No, I
anyway,
knew it was normal, but I was like, oh.
not to be like TMI, but it's TMI. So since I didn't eat for like 30 some hours, I'm like on all these like IVs
you're
and
good to
stuff.
go.
I went to the bathroom earlier and I was like, oh, I am good. I am cleared out. I was like, we are good. I will not poop. I was like, I will not poop during this birth. Like I can guarantee it. I have nothing left like in my stomach. Like I'm starving. I haven't ate. 8. Like I'm good. So like I honestly knew I wasn't going to poop. I wasn't even worried about it then. But
Thank
then
God I'm a guy because I just my poops are explosive.
oh my God, that poor doctor would have to have a face shield. But honestly, like I don't even think that's weird if people did poop. Like I don't know why that's even a thing.
Weird. I mean,
like you're literally pouring out blood out of your
honestly, what was the weirdest thing to me is the placenta coming out
Oh,
after.
that was weird. Yeah,
and
I
they
didn't
just
like
throw
that.
it in a tray. And since they stitched her up for so
It's like
long,
a brain.
it was just sitting in there for so long. And I was like,
You're like, okay.
It felt like a in science class when you dissect something. I was like, we got a brand new baby over here. There's a placenta
They're
here.
stitching my wife back
They're
together.
stitching her up over here. She's still legs spread. 2 people in there putting her back together. I'm going back and forth like baby KDB because I was so intrigued. I was like, I want to watch.
I do have to say I am very proud of Joshy B because he was super supportive and like it is so important who you pick to choose the rest of your life with because they are going to be through you or like through you.
Through you. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, what's so important? They're going to be with you. They're going to be with you for the rest of your life in all these like important moments. And I think it's so important because it's like, he was so helpful. He was helpful for me. He was helpful with baby girl after. Like, it was just, it made the experience so much better. And like having a husband who like appreciates like what I'm going through and looks at it as like a beautiful thing rather than like being like, ew, I'd never want to have sex with you again. Like that to me, like those things, I'm like, kind of like, okay. Like
I feel like I would just be doing myself.
I feel like that's just immature. Like I don't know. I feel like guys need to appreciate what that whole process.
I don't.
And if you're a guy, don't make those comments.
To me,
he's supportive. You know.
I think it's cool.
I think it's dope.
It's cool. Like I can't do that. I think it's sick. Giving like watching that happen. Like honestly, I was like obviously I was on a high after. I was like so excited our baby was born, but I was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like I'm even telling my guy friends, I'm like, dude, birth is sick. Like you need to have a baby. Like that was the dopest thing I've ever watched like happen. Like the whole experience was like, wow.
And then anyway, I ordered Jimmy John's at like 7:00. I ordered or like maybe 5:00 early just in case I gave birth late.
That was a power move.
She was born at 10.
Was closed.
She was born at 10:30. So I had my Jimmy John's sandwich because they were gonna give me some like pain meds and I could not take that on an empty stomach. I would have been like destroyed and everything was closed. And I was like, give me my Jimmy John's. So instantly they're like, okay, we got to feed the baby. So I start feeding her. Luckily she like latched on right away. Like it was like really good. And I'm holding her. There's a picture. I'm like holding her in one arm and I have a foot long like sandwich just like mowing down in the other one. And I was like, this is so good. I ate all day. Like I felt so like exhausted.
And you were craving Jimmy John's during that whole pregnancy too.
Not craving. I just really wanted it because I couldn't have it. I wouldn't say I was
craving is the wrong word.
But I was like really excited to have it because I wasn't able to have it. But anyway, that happened. I eat. They give me my medicine. And then they're like, okay, we're going to get you up to go to the bathroom.
Meanwhile, before that, I mean, your boy's learning how. I've never changed a diaper. So my baby's diaper, I can confidently say, was the first diaper I've ever changed.
Joshy B learned how to change her diaper. He learned how to swaddle her. He was like with the NICU nurse. Like it was really cute because he was like being very intentional. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, can you please teach me?
Like I kind of know how to do that.
Yeah.
Like I practiced before, but like I want to. Like she's a NICU nurse. Like she's been doing this for 30 years. She's an expert. But I'm not. So I want to learn from the best.
I thought it was cute that you were taking like you cared so much to like learn how to do it and like be like such a good dad, which has been
I've never been a parent
fun.
before. I don't know. I was like,
it's been fun to watch so far because Joshy B has been killing it.
I think the biggest thing I learned like from not growing up, but like from high school to like where I'm at now is like you should never be embarrassed to like not know something. Like I'm never embarrassed unless you're like quote unquote an expert in something, like which I'm not an expert in anything. So I feel like you can always learn from somebody.
There's always someone that knows more than you.
Anything you do, there's always people that know more than you. And so I'm like,
that's something my mom said.
Of course, being a new dad, like I have a lot to learn. So like, there's definitely nothing I'm embarrassed to ask about there.
That's something my mom said. She's like, I just think it's so cool that Josh is like so humble enough to like humble himself and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, can you show me? Because she's like, there's so many guys who are like, no, I know it. Like, I got this when they don't know. And she's like, the fact that he like can put himself like down all the time, and be like, I don't know. Like I'm, just so he can learn and be like better at it. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, he's doing all that. He's with the baby. I had just fed her. They're like, okay, we're going to get you to go to the bathroom. They get me up. I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, I think I'm going to pass out. So the nurse is like, oh my God. She's like, lean on me, lean on me. So I literally like put my head in her chest, like didn't collapse yet, but I was like folded like over in her lap, and I was like holding her, and I felt
come
like
in there like Katie B's like full blown like face
did
on
she
this
call you, the
nurse's
nurse?
chest,
Did the
like
nurse call you?
hey, like just hanging out. Yeah, she called me in there, and
I didn't hear any of that.
you weren't like
So I'm
passed
like,
out yet, but like your skin was like a greenish
I was
white, and
I
your
was
arms
like
were like
fighting
super
it.
droopy.
Because I'm like going like this. I'm like, oh my, like I literally felt like I was dying. And then I remember I had like a dream, and I think this is when I actually passed out. I don't know what the dream was. I remember dreaming about something, and I like literally go like said something weird apparently, and that's what you said. Like I like kind of made some noises, and like what I remember is maybe like I don't know, like
Yeah, so let me explain. I mean, she's in a little nightgown, you know,
my nightgown, my hospital
her
gown.
diaper and like her pad like all like at her knees,
Oh
like
really?
yeah, like you were either just going to the bathroom or were about to go
I
to
was
the
in the
bathroom. I can't
process
remember
of going to the bathroom because
yeah.
when I tell you it's a process, like especially right after, and I just got all those stitches, like, and I'm getting off the epidural.
Yeah, it's a
They're like,
process.
it's gonna be hard for you to pee. Like you're not gonna be able to pee. And I sat down. And I'm like, I feel like I have to pee, but I can't pee. And so I'm like looking down. They're kind of like showing me everything I have to do for postpartum. So I'm like trying to do like look down, look up, and then I like stood up, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, so you must have just been finished. So
think I
you're
stood
like
up to, like, wipe
starting
or
to probably
something.
put that up, or you're probably looking down to wipe, and that's probably what made you really dizzy.
Yeah.
But I came in there and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's about to pass out. But I've never seen you pass out before. And like you're fine, but like you definitely were like super lightheaded. And then all of a sudden, like she was talking, and then all of a sudden, like her eyes rolled in the back of her head, and she started like mumbling like some gibberish.
Yeah.
For probably like I want to say 10 seconds. It was
Probably
probably
only, like,
like
a couple
really
seconds.
5 seconds, but long enough for like her to like basically start dropping, like the nurse catcher, eye catcher. And there's always like a plug next to the bathrooms in these rooms, like for emergencies. Like the nurse ripped it right away. And like you were out long enough for like 5 nurses to run in the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were saying like some gibberish. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she snaps back to, comes back awake.
I feel like I died. I'm not kidding.
Just goes,
died and came back.
I'm back. I'm good.
No, I literally was like, I'm back.
Like, I was like, are you serious? Like, what is good?
And I was like, what's with the show? And I was like, sorry, false alarm.
It was not a false
I was
alarm.
like making jokes with the nurses. I don't know. I felt like I was like, I'm back. I'm good. It was like my like sense of humor to be like, I'm good.
Didn't that nurse say she's never seen that before? Like,
I think people
post pregnancy. Because then she had she came back the next day to talk to us just to.
I think it's rare.
Hi.
Like it's like with it. She has been a nurse for
she's
like 6
yeah,
years.
this never happened. And then she's like, it happened to you guys. And then
it happened the next
shift she worked. It happened again.
She's like, what happened? On? So then she like taped like smelling salts to her like ID, and I was like, oh, that's smart. Which I literally like. I don't know what happened. I literally, when I tell you, I like felt like I dreamt something. I like literally woke up.
It
and
looked like
what happened? Like
if you watch scary movies, like
yeah, like my eyes rolling back.
Exorcism. It was so scary. I was like, I was scared. I thought you were having like a stroke.
But then they got me in they thought I had a seizure at first, and then you thought I was having a stroke, and then anyway, they get me in the wheelchair. We get back. I'm a little scared to hold Sky at first, or because I already held her and stuff, but then I was so scared to like really hold her again, which they were going to take us to the next room, but I just like didn't feel strong. Like I felt like so like I had just like still like about fighting passing out. But then how long were we in there then? Not long. They
had to stay in that room. Like usually you only stay like 2 hours after giving birth, and then they move you to like a postpartum room, but they had to stay probably like an extra 30 to 45 minutes because that happened, and they're like, oh, we just want to like look after you a little longer. But then we were good.
Then we moved over to the
postpartum room.
But then when I was going to the bathroom there, I really did not feel good. Even like for the first full day, like I kind of every time I went to the bathroom, I was scared I was going to pass out because I wasn't feeling like that great. But then we just went to the postpartum area, and it's so weird because we had her at 10. We didn't get to the postpartum unit until I think like 1 or 2 in the morning, and it didn't really felt like we even went to bed. It just felt like one day like continued because it's not like we like went to bed.
For me, every day in the hospital feels like one meshed together day. Yeah. And
because we never got a full night of sleep. Like there's always nurses coming and checking.
Well, she was born at 10:30, and then we stayed in there 2 hours after. That's what 12:30.
We didn't get to the room till 1.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's such like a crazy experience what just happened, and like now you have your new baby you're so excited about, but like
Yeah.
we hadn't slept since like 3 a.m. the previous day. It's like,
But when did we even like go to bed?
that day, I don't know.
Like I don't think we did go to bed.
I was like too excited. I think
we
slept,
had
like,
her.
an
Then they
hour or
came in
two.
and the nurse came in. They're like going over some stuff. They're running more tests on her. She's good. And then I think they left us for like an hour. So I think we like shut our eyes for an hour and then like wake up, more medicine. And then I had to breastfeed her.
Breastfeeding,
And then we go to bed for like another like maybe 20 minutes and then wake up.
I don't think I slept at all that first night.
I don't think we slept more than like, well, we like laid down, we like rested our eyes. I don't think
honestly, I don't even know if I slept at all because I was too nervous. I was like,
I was uncomfortable. Like I had IVs. I was like in pain. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to go to the bathroom? Like I need to go to the bathroom. And then I was like, okay, it was hard too because I'm laying in the bed and I'm like, I want to like go and pick her up and get up and down, but I couldn't even get up and down. So thank God Josh was so helpful with her and he was able to like hand her to me. And like, you were so helpful in that sense. Cause I was like, it was so hard to get up and down. Like it hurt so bad. And
you basically just had a surgery almost.
Like, yeah. And I was like, I can't imagine having to like get up and change all of her diapers and do everything on my own. Like you were so helpful, like within those like 2 days. Like it was like amazing.
It's weird because like, I don't know. It feels unreal to say that we're parents.
I know.
It still like really doesn't feel like
I missed her. I feel like even doing this podcast, I'm like, I want to be
by the way, if you are wondering, it was part of the plan to say this in the beginning, but I just remembered like she is with her Mimi or grandma, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
In the other room. She's fine. We didn't just leave our baby alone.
But honestly, even if we put her right here, you guys wouldn't even hear her. She just sleeps. She's so perfect.
There's something that like kind of frustrates me, but it's okay. I wanted to hold her during this podcast because like why not get extra snuggles? But I also I don't know. I feel like people are so weird with babies and social media, and they'd be like, oh, like I don't know,
like, oh, you can't film something and not have her. Like you're exploiting a kid.
It is what it is. So obviously I chose not to, but
it's like,
I'm about to just say like F the comments or F what people think. Like I don't really care. Like I'm gonna do me and.
I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And I
just want to be with her.
Unapologetically obsessed with my child, but just like every other mom is.
Facts.
And that's the bottom line. I feel like everyone's like, oh my God, like you're just like that person. Like I'm that person with my dog. Like I'm like when people are like, oh, I saw your like picture of your dog. I'm like, want to see more pictures? Like I have a full album here. Like here's his Instagram. Go follow it. Like I'm like, I'm that person. Okay. Like I don't know.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No. So it's all good.
Anyway, that was pretty much our birth story. It was quite the story. And we're just so grateful that everything did happen the way it happened, because I did look back at like my papers, like the discharge papers, and it basically said like spontaneous vaginal delivery. In my opinion, that means like it was kind of spontaneous because they didn't think that I was going to be able to go in for a vaginal delivery because it said like a placenta, or it said abruption, and it said all these things. And then it says, because it says spontaneous, like I really do feel like God was with us that entire day, just because of how much I feel like throughout the pregnancy, like I've prayed for everything to go good, because there was things that I was like very nervous about. And I just feel like we were definitely surrounded by angels. And I also feel like we were placed with like the right nurses, and we were in God's hands the entire time.
And baby girl is healthy. She's
healthy.
Happy, so that is a blessing as well.
Having a healthy and like just like everything go good is like something to not take lightly. I just feel like it's such a blessing, and like there is so much that can go wrong. So I just feel super blessed, super happy. Even like the other day was my birthday, and Josh was like, I feel bad, like we're not doing anything. I was like, I don't need to do a thing. I've never felt happier in my life. Like literally just holding her, taking care of her. Like I'm like, this is so fun. Like I'm like, I love it. Like I don't know. I just love being a mom.
First birthday as a mom.
I loved it. It was like it was my best birthday. Yeah, we literally did nothing. Like it wasn't anything crazy, but it was like so, I don't know, like rewarding and fulfilling. So
I had a fun day.
That's pretty much our birth story. I'm very excited for this next chapter of our lives. I feel like we have so much excitement to come, so much to learn and grow from. And I'm just really hyped for it.